In this section, I will explain why insects in cow dung are important for the ecosystem and agriculture. Cow dung is a natural and renewable resource that provides many benefits to humans and animals. But did you know that cow dung also supports a rich diversity of insects that play a vital role in recycling nutrients, improving soil quality, and controlling pests? One of the most well-known groups of insects in cow dung are the dung beetles. These amazing creatures can roll, bury, or tunnel into the dung pats and feed on them or use them as breeding sites. By doing so, they help to decompose the dung faster and reduce its volume, which prevents the accumulation of methane gas and greenhouse emissions. Dung beetles also enhance the soil fertility by mixing organic matter and microorganisms into the soil, increasing its water-holding capacity and aeration. Moreover, dung beetles can suppress the populations of harmful flies and parasites that breed in cow dung, such as horned flies, face flies, and stable flies. These pests can cause irritation, blood loss, disease transmission, and reduce milk production in cattle. Another group of insects that inhabit cow dung are the predators and parasitoids. These include wasps, flies, beetles, ants, spiders, and mites that feed on or parasitize other insects in the dung. They help to regulate the numbers of dung-feeding insects and prevent their outbreaks. Some of these insects are also beneficial for biological control of crop pests. For example, some wasps that parasitize dung beetles can also attack weevils that damage alfalfa and clover crops. A third group of insects that live in cow dung are the decomposers and detritivores. These include fungi, bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, springtails, earthworms, and maggots that break down the organic matter and release nutrients into the soil. They also contribute to the formation of humus, which is a stable form of organic matter that improves soil structure and fertility. Some of these insects can also act as indicators of soil health and environmental quality. As you can see, insects in cow dung are not only fascinating but also essential for the ecosystem and agriculture. They help to recycle a waste product into a valuable resource that benefits plants, animals, and humans. By understanding and appreciating their role, we can better manage our livestock systems and conserve our natural resources. In this section, I will show you how to collect and preserve cow dung samples for insect identification. This is an important step in studying the diversity and ecology of insects that live in cow dung. The first thing you need to do is to find a suitable site where cows have deposited fresh dung. You can use a GPS device or a map to mark the location of the site for future reference. You should also note the date, time, weather conditions, and any other relevant information. Next, you need to collect the dung samples using a clean shovel or a spatula. You should avoid touching the dung with your bare hands, as it may contain harmful bacteria or parasites. You should also wear gloves, a mask, and protective clothing to prevent any contamination. You should collect at least 10 dung samples from different piles, and place them in separate plastic bags that are labeled with the site information. You should also collect some of the surrounding soil or vegetation, as they may contain insects that are associated with the dung. To preserve the dung samples for insect identification, you have two options. You can either freeze them or preserve them in alcohol. Freezing is preferred, as it preserves the insects in their natural state and prevents any decomposition. However, if you don't have access to a freezer, you can use alcohol instead. To freeze the dung samples, you need to place them in a freezer-safe container that is tightly sealed. You should also wrap the container in newspaper or bubble wrap to prevent any damage during transport. You should keep the samples frozen until you are ready to identify the insects. To preserve the dung samples in alcohol, you need to place them in a glass jar that is filled with 70% isopropyl alcohol or hand sanitizer. You should also add some cotton balls or paper towels to absorb any excess moisture. You should make sure that the dung samples are completely submerged in the alcohol, and that there is no air space in the jar. You should also tighten the lid securely and label the jar with the site information. You should keep the samples in a cool and dark place until you are ready to identify the insects. By following these steps, you will be able to collect and preserve cow dung samples for insect identification. This will help you learn more about the insects that live in cow dung and their role in nutrient cycling and pest control.